Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. Text number 44 onwards. Sutuvacha prathetham kalpada parinuta khilodaya mandam jahas vaikuntho moyan ev mayaya. Sut Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. So he gave a little smile because he knew it was his aunt, his Bua, who was glorifying him. Anything that is enchanting in the world is said to be a representation of the Lord. The conditioned souls who are engaged in trying to lord it over the material world are also enchanted by his mystic powers. But his devotees are enchanted in a different way by the glories of the Lord, and his merciful blessings are upon them. His energy is displayed in different ways, as electrical energy works in manifold capacities. Srimati Kunti Devi has prayed to the Lord just to enunciate a fragment of his glories. Obviously, nobody can glorify the Lord to the fullest extent possible. So, to whatever uh, level our realization goes, we can glorify him. And he accepts it. All his devotees worship him in that way by chosen words. And therefore, the Lord is known as Uttam Shloka. No amount of chosen words is sufficient to enumerate the Lord's glory, and yet he is satisfied by such prayers as a father is satisfied even by the broken linguistic attempts of the growing child. So that is the relationship of the Lord with his devotees. Even if they try to glorify him in a broken language, broken words, improper grammar, whatever, but he understands the mood, he understands the bhava of the devotees, and that's what he accepts. The word Maya is used both in the sense of delusion and mercy. Here, the word Maya is used in the sense of Lord's mercy upon Kunti Devi. So he smiled a little, hearing all the glorification by Kunti Devi being his aunt, is a senior elder to him, and still she's glorifying him. So he's smiling. Text 45. Tam Badam iti upamantrya pravishya gad savayam striyascha swapuram yasyan premna ragya nivaritaha. Thus accepting the prayers of Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord subsequently informed other ladies of his departure by entering the palace of Hastinapur. But upon preparing to leave, he was stopped by King Yudhishthir, who implored him lovingly. No one could make Lord Krishna stay at Hastinapur when he decided to start for Dwarka. But the simple request of King Yudhishthir that the Lord remain there for a few days more was immediately effective. So he was about to leave, Krishna was about to leave after the prayers of Queen Kunti and after he saved Parikshit Maharaj. And then Maharaj Yudhishthir approached him and he asked him to stay back for a few more days. And Krishna just agreed. This signifies that the power of King Yudhishthir was loving affection, which the Lord could not deny. The Almighty Lord is thus conquered by the loving service and nothing else. He is fully independent in all his dealings, but he voluntarily accepts obligations by the loving affection of his pure devotees. That's all he wants. When it is said that Krishna, he has everything, there is nothing lacking in him. He is like he has all the full six opulences, right? Strength, fame, um, power, strength, fame, then money, renunciation, knowledge, and beauty. He is everything, is full. But there's one thing that is lacking in him also. That what he is always desiring of is our love for him. And when we show this love for him, when we show this, display this real love, I mean, he, of course, he is the supreme Lord. He is sitting as Paramatma in our heart. He can understand whether we are loving him truly, or there's a motive behind it. But when we love him, ahetuki means unmotivated and uninterrupted service, loving service. That's what he likes. And then, just like Nectar of Devotion says, he is completely controlled by his devotees. So he's not beyond the control of his devotees. And that's why Nectar of Devotion says he doesn't give devotion service to each and everybody. In fact, he doesn't give devotional service to anybody. Only his devotees give devotional service. So because he knows he will be controlled by the devotees. Why? Because they love him so much. They're ready to do anything for him, ready to sacrifice anything for him, ready to serve him in any way possible. And that's why when King Yudhishthir approached him to ask him to stay there, stay back for a few more days, although he was sitting on the chariot, Krishna was ready to leave for Dwarka. But then he cancelled his tickets and he said, okay, I'll stay back. Of course, there was no ticket, he was going on his own chariot. Text 46. Vyasa der Ishvare gya Krishna adbhut karmana prabodhito api itihasar na buddhyat shucharpitaha. King Yudhishthir, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced, despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyas and the Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. Now, Maharaj Yudhishthir, he was so much aggrieved. Why was he aggrieved? Prabhupada writes in the purport. The pious King Yudhishthir was mortified because of the mass massacre of human beings in the battle of Kurukshetra, especially on his account. Duryodhan was there on the throne and he was doing well in his administration, and in one sense there was no need of fighting. But on the principle of justice, Yudhishthir was to replace him. The whole clique of politics centered around this point, and all the kings and residents of the whole world became involved in this fight between the rival brothers. Lord Krishna was also there on the side of King Yudhishthira. It is said in Mahabharata, Adi Parv 2.225, that 640 million people were killed in the 18 days of the battle of Kurukshetra, and millions were missing. Practically, this was the greatest battle in the world within 5,000 years. So this mass killing simply to enthrone Maharaj Yudhishthira was so mortifying. So he tried to be convinced with the evidences from histories by great sages like Vyasadeva and Lord himself. Krishna himself tried to pacify him, convince him that the fight was just because the cause was just. But Maharaj Yudhishthira would not be satisfied, even though he was instructed by the greatest personalities of that time. So this is So another story will start now, that Maharaj Yudhishthira was not satisfied. Now there was one person who had to be glorified, because Krishna remembers all his devotees and he wants to glorify all his devotees. So prior to this, when Ashwatthama incident happened and he killed all the 5 sons of Draupadi, and Draupadi Maharani just forgave him, and that showed the character of Draupadi Maharani, how glorious she was. And now, Yudhishthira Maharaj this incident, Krishna will take him to Bhishma Pitama. And this is how Bhishma Pitama will be glorified. Because so far in Mahabharata, although he was a big warrior, he was the great grandfather of Pandavas and Kauravas. He was the eldest person. He was a knower of all the scriptures. But so far he wasn't glorified properly. So Krishna wants to now glorify Bhishma Dev. So let's look at the situation here. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he is He's not at all pacified. He's mortified, in fact. And even Vyasdev and even Lord Krishna himself could not convince him that the war was just, war was right. Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking, why so many people got killed just to put me on the throne? What? How does it make sense? And he's thinking Duryodhan was doing great in administration, and it is, in fact, it said that Duryodhan was a great administrator. He was a good king, but he wasn't on the path of dharma. So that was the reason Krishna had to replace him. But now Yudhishthira Maharaj is questioning why so many people got killed just to put me on the throne. And so he's thinking he's responsible for so many men getting killed and so many women becoming widowed, so many parents having no son to take care of themselves. So he's thinking of that way. And so many little boys became orphans because the father was killed. So not neither he, not neither Krishna nor Vyas could convince King Yudhishthira. Does it mean that he failed to be a superhuman actor? No, certainly not. The interpretation is that the Lord as Ishvara was a super soul in the hearts of both King Yudhishthira and Vyas, performed still more superhuman action because the Lord desired it. As super soul of King Yudhishthira, he did not allow the king to be convinced by the words of Vyas and others, including himself, because he desired that the king hear instructions from the dying Bhishma Deva, who was another great devotee of the Lord. The Lord wanted that at the last stage of his material existence, the great warrior Bhishmadev see him personally and see his beloved grandchildren, King Yudhishthira, etc., now situated on the throne, and thus pass away very peacefully. So Krishna does many things with the same pastime. He accomplishes many goals. Bhishmadev was not at all satisfied to fight against Pandavas, who were his beloved fatherless grandchildren. But the Kshatriyas are also very stern people, and therefore he was obliged to take the side of Duryodhan, because he was maintained at the expense of Duryodhan. Besides this, the Lord also desired that King Yudhishthira be pacified by the words of Bhishmadev, so that all the world could see that Bhishmadev excelled in all the knowledge, including the Lord himself. So Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishmadev. And look at the situation of Bhishmadev. He is on the bed of arrows for so many days. And how many arrows were passed through the body of Bhishmadev? It is said that there was not even a space for any single more arrow. So many arrows Arjun had shot at Bhishmadev. And he was lying on that bed of arrows in the battle of Kurukshetra. And he heard all the news that everybody has died. Pretty much everybody has died. So even in that situation, so many arrows means he must be in so much of pain. But he was a big yogi, so he had somehow held on to his soul, and moreover, he had the benediction that he won't die until he wanted to die. And he is lying down in Kurukshetra, and Krishna wanted to glorify him now. So he would take everybody over there, and then see what the instructions that Bhishma Dev gives to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Amazing instructions. Of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, they don't go in that much detail, but if somebody wants to read Mahabharat, so in Mahabharat, so much of details are given of all the instructions that Bhishma Dev gave to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Even at that position, in that situation. Just imagine if simple needle we get pricked by a little needle, how much it hurts. And I don't think the name of Krishna will come out at that time. One little needle. And here Bhishmadev was completely ridden by the arrows. His body was completely ridden by the arrows. And he was lying on that bed of arrows. So look at the consciousness of Bhishma there. So we'll see that in next chapter. Text 47. Aharaja dharmasutah chintayan suhridam vadam prakritena vipra sneha moho vasham gataha. King Yudhishthir, son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. O sage, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. So he was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. But of course, King Yudhishthir is also a pure devotee of the Lord, so Mahamaya cannot work on him. So he was completely under the jurisdiction of Yog Maya. King Yudhishthir, though he was not expected to become aggrieved like a common man, became deluded by worldly affection by the will of the Lord. So again, the will of the Lord is working on Yudhishthir Maharaj. Just as Arjun was apparently deluded. A man who sees knows well that the living entity is neither the body nor the mind, but is transcendental to the material conception of life. The common man thinks of violence and non-violence in terms of the body, but that's a kind of delusion. Everyone is duty bound according to one's occupational duties. A Kshatriya is bound to fight for the right cause, regardless of the opposite party. In such discharge of duty, one should not be disturbed by annihilation of the material body, which is only an external dress of the living soul. All this was perfectly known to Maharaj Yudhishthira, but by the will of the Lord, he became just like a common man. Because there was another great idea behind this delusion. The king would be instructed by Bhishma as Arjun was instructed by the Lord himself. So again, now we know the reason behind Yudhishthira Maharaja's confusion. Aho me pashyata jnanam hridhi rudam duratmanah parkayasya dehasya bhavyo me akshohinirtah. King Yudhishthir said, O my Lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. This body, which is ultimately meant for others, has killed many, many phalanxes of men. So he is aggrieving like that. Phalanx means the Akshahini. A solid phalanx of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 109,650 infantry, and 65,000 cavalry is called an Akshohini. And many Akshohinis were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Yudhishthira, as the most pious king of the world, takes for himself the responsibility for killing such a huge number of living beings because the battle was fought to reinstate him on the throne. And he's thinking the body is meant for others, meant to serve others. So while there is life in this body, it is meant for the service of others, and when it is dead, it is meant to be eaten by dogs and jackals or maggots. He is sorry because for such a temporary body, such a huge massacre was committed. So he was such a pious king that he's still thinking about others. Baladvij suhrin mitra pitri bhratri gurudraha namesyan niryan moksho hi api varsha yuta yutah. I have killed many boys, Brahmins, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors, and brothers. I will not be relieved from the hell that awaits me for all these sins, though I lived there for millions of years. So this is the mood of Yudhishthira Maharaj, that he is saying, I will not be relieved of all the sins I have committed. This is his humility also. Text 50. नैनुराज्ञ प्रजा भर्तुर्धर्म युद्धे वधोद्विषाम इति मे न तु बोधाय kalpate शासनम वचः. There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens. But this injunction is not applicable to me. Maharaj Yudhishthira thought that although he was not actually involved in the administration of the kingdom, which was being carried on well by Duryodhan without harm to the citizens, he caused the killing of so many living beings only for his personal gain of the kingdom from the hands of Duryodhan. So he's saying he thought he's responsible for such a big sin, for all the sins. स्त्रीणां मद्बन्धूनां द्रोहो हितो तथा कर्मभिर्गृहे मेधियान् यार्नाहं कल्पो व्यपोहितुम्. I have killed many friends of women and I have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it's not possible to undo it by material welfare work. So he's thinking that no matter whatever welfare work he does, he won't get relief from killing of so many people. Although Yudhishthira Maharaj performed Ashwamedh Yajna also after the war, but still he is thinking, I'll not be relieved of killing of so many people. And then he is thinking a fresh enmity is created because Kshatriyas, they don't forgive and forget that easily. I'm just going a little faster because this last text, 52, is the last verse of this chapter, and I want to finish this chapter today. Text 52. Yatha pankena pangambha suryavasura kritam bhutahatyam tathaveikam na yagyar marshtum arhati. As it is not possible to filter muddy water through mud or purify a wine-stained pot with wine, it's not possible to counteract the killing of men by sacrificing animals. So he's saying, on one hand, we killed so many men, and the other hand, we do Ashwamedh Yajna. You think this will counteract the killing of so many men? Although it's Karm Kandi Yajna, and it will definitely counteract that. But Yudhishthira Maharaj is so much aggrieved that he cannot even think straight right now. Just like Arjun could not think straight when Bhagavad Gita was supposed to be spoken. Ashwamedh Yajna or Gomedh Yajna sacrifices in which a horse or a bull is sacrificed were not, of course, for the purpose of killing the animal. Lord Chaitanya said that such animal sacrifices on the altar of Yajna were rejuvenated and a new life was given to them. It's just to prove the efficacy of the hymns of the Vedas. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, there is no possibility of performing the yajnas perfectly for want of expert Brahmins who are able to conduct such yajnas. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore gives a hint of performing sacrifices in the age of Kali. And now Prabhupada will come back to the real sacrifices that is meant for the age of Kali. In the Kali Yuga, the only sacrifice recommended is a performance of Harinam Yajna, inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not indulge in animal killing and counteract by performing the Harinam Yajna. Those who are devotees of the Lord never kill an animal for self-interest. The whole purpose, therefore, is served when everything is done for the will of the Lord. This is possible only for the devotees. So this is the mentality, a mood, or mindset of Maharaj Yudhishthira, that I have committed such a great sin, and I'm responsible for all the killings of so many people. And it is said that 640 million people died in the battle of Mahabharata. So he's thinking of himself responsible. And then from chapter 9, we'll see how Krishna takes him to Bhishma Dev while Bhishma Dev leaves his body. So I'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one question on Bhishma. Why, like when you were telling that there was not a single place in the body where he didn't get that, the arrow. So why was this state? He fell into this state. Why is it like? Even though he was,
He could not be killed by Arjun because he had a benediction that until he wanted to die, he won't die. And he could not be defeated by anybody also. So Krishna arranged in the battle in such a way that Arjun had to put him on the bed of arrows. So once he was on the bed of arrows, he was defeated. So he said, I cannot fight anymore. But he could not die either. He was waiting for the right moment to leave his body.
Okay. Thank
And
you, Prabhuji.
also he had taken a vow. Of course, many vows he had taken. That's why he's called Bhishma. Bhishma, very strong vows. So the vow was first thing that he will never get married. And second was anybody who sits on the throne of Hastinapur, he would regard him as his father, Shantanu. So that's why even though Dhritarashtra was doing all sorts of nonsense, but since he was a king and Bhishma had to support him in every way. And then thirdly, he had taken a vow that he will not leave the body till he sees that Hastinapur is in right hands. So now when Yudhishthira Maharaj goes back to Bhishma Dev and Krishna tells him that now the kingdom of Hastinapur is in the hands of Yudhishthira Maharaj, then he is fully satisfied, then he leaves the body.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Any other question or comment? That's why people like this story of Mahabharata, because it has so much of politics and twists and turns and this and that. But lots of teachings are there as well. That's what we have to grasp, the teachings. So I guess now we can stop here. Everybody have a wonderful day. See you all tomorrow. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.